Hello and welcome to the Brewers Challenge week of the Community Super League. We're about to see a match of Tamiyo's Journal versus Brain in a Jar, Kenji aka New Matanami versus LoadingReadyRun.
And it looks like Kenji has got a very keepable hand. He's got a tireless tracker, which is a way to make clues, graph mole, which can gain him some life, weirding wood, which can help him ramp up to that Tamiyo's Journal that he's graph mole.
So sad.
I'm happy as a clam.
Yeah, Graph Mold, just a great addition to this deck. Whenever you sacrifice a clue, you gain 2 life, and that can get out of hand really easily in Kenji's deck when he's just sacrificing, 2-3 clues a turn once he gets up there in mana.
LoadingReadyRun just chose to Clash of Wills a Weirding Wood. Weirding Wood, which enchants a land, and you get a clue. That land can tap for two colors of mana. They have to be matching, but they can be any of the 5.
I don't know. Would you have Clash of Wills at Weirding Wood?
I agree with the LoadingReadyRun.
Yeah, Graph Mold, just a great addition to this deck. Whenever you sacrifice a clue, you gain 2 life, and that can get out of hand really easily in Kenji's deck when he's just sacrificing, 2-3 clues a turn once he gets up there in mana.
LoadingReadyRun just chose to Clash of Wills a Weirding Wood. Weirding Wood, which enchants a land, and you get a clue. That land can tap for two colors of mana. They have to be matching, but they can be any of the 5.
I don't know. Would you have Clash of Wills at Weirding Wood?
I agree with the LoadingReadyRun's decision there, especially since they're not entirely sure what Kenji's deck is doing, but they know that he's on Tamiyo's Journal. Keeping him from playing Tamiyo's Journal next turn is probably a nice choice on their part.
Sure.
Kenji playing the Tireless Tracker, really smart, waiting until you have a land. It's very tempting to want to just slam it on turn 3. But Tireless Tracker is definitely a card you want to get value from, and waiting until turn 4, playing it, and immediately playing a land. If the opponent does kill it, you're still getting something out of it.
Tireless Tracker, a 3/2 that when you play a land, you get a clue, and when you crack a clue, you get to put a +1/+1 counter on it.
Yeah, just a great card. I mean, this is a card you want to see past you in draft every day. Open and sealed. Put in your deck. I mean, just love it.
LRR has a very spicy card in their hand, the Volcanic Vision. Can we talk about that? Can we talk about that?
So many visions of volcanoes, it's like Hawaii.
So it's 5 and 2 red, and you can return an instant or sorcery card from your graveyard to your hand, and then it deals damage equal to that card's converted mana cost to each creature your opponents control. And then you exile it. That's pretty hot.
Yeah, literally.
Literally.
The guy in the card art is certainly getting engulfed by some magma.
That's a Noah Bradley art. Noah Bradley painting lots of men being,
Yeah, he has been, hasn't he?
What's the other card that I'm thinking of? Yeah, the Hot Rain one.
Okay, so LRR is about to counter the Journal. The Journal's out.
Oh, that's sad.
That's right. It got scattered to the wind.
They scattered the pages, just ripped them up. And
oh, very flavorful. They chose not to wait to awaken Scatter to the Wind. It gets awakened 3 for 4 blue, but I think it was the right move. If they're going to cast their main card in their deck, counter it.
And LRR is also about to have the opportunity to put another counter on Brain in the Jar, and they do have Exquisite Firecraft in hand, which casts 3, and there will be 3 counters on that Brain in the Jar, so I don't know that this particular Tireless Tracker is going to be sticking around for that long.
It may be tireless, but it's also gonna be dead.
I'm kind of hoping that LRR gets to live the dream and use Brain in a Jar to cast the Volcanic Visions.
That would be
awesome.
Beautiful.
I mean...
It's looking possible at this point.
We see that they're anticipating here. They have another Brain in the Jar, a Disperse, and a copy of Anticipate, which they take.
Disperse, I don't know. Dispersing a Tireless Tracker is not exactly what you want to be doing.
No.
So...
Especially when they already have a kill spell in hand for that Fireless Tracker. Exquisite Firecraft is about to deal 4 damage to it.
They already have a Spell Mastery.
Yeah. Kenji has 3 clues out.
And both a second harvest and a Graph Mole.
Ooh!
The Mole is nice insurance, too, against, we talked about LRR having the Fall of the Titans in their hand. If they do go to that plan B of just trying to burn Kenji out, that one card is going to make that plan a little more difficult.
So far, I really like this game, though. I mean, it's got interesting interactions on both sides of the board. We're seeing kind of two opposite strategies. It's a great matchup.
We see that they are loading ready run in response to this tireless tracker is casting another anticipate. They took a look at 3 cards and chose a rise from the tides.
So what could they rise for here? 1, 2, 3,
7?
4, 5, 6?
6.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're on the way to 8, which was my guess.
Mine was 12.
And it will only be the first rise from the tides. Notably, now that Brain in a Jar is on 3, they do have to make a choice between putting a counter on this Brain in a Jar, which they chose to do, or casting that exquisite Firecraft to kill that tireless tracker. But instead, they're choosing to put a storage counter on their Mage Ring network and to tick their Brain in a Jar up to 4.
Getting closer to that volcanic vision.
Crossing our fingers. So remind me, was Volcanic Vision every creature or just your opponent's creatures?
I believe it's every creature.
Each creature your opponents control.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh, so they might even have the chance to rise from the tides with Brain in a Jar on 6 and then cast Volcanic Vision on 7.
Oh, sweet play.
If they let this tireless tracker live, though, it is going to have the opportunity to get pretty big pretty quickly on these next couple of turns, as Kenji still does have 4 clues in play since he hasn't cracked any yet.
3 tireless trackers in the graveyard.
There goes another exquisite Firecraft dealing with the tracker. Bye-bye.
It's interesting. Is Kenji going to want to sacrifice those clues? Because he doesn't have a lot of gas right now, but at the same time, he needs those clues to be out there to do things.
That's true. He does have the second harvest in hand, which right now could make him 4 more clues. But then if he drew something like a Tamiyo's journal, he wouldn't be able to tutor up something if he were to sack those clues instead. So it looks like he's going to go ahead and second harvest to make 4 more clues.
Clue count at 8. Clue count at 8.
Brain and Jar at 5.
Ooh, and a Geist Blast.
Oh, live the dream. Loading Ready Run, live the dream.
Loading Ready Run. And notably, they have the mana to both cast Geist Blast, tick up Brain in a Jar, and use Geist Blast's ability to copy a spell.
Look at God.
So I'm just going to put that out there as a thing that has the potential to happen someday. Who knows?
Come on, universe. Let's make this happen.
Geist Blast is an uncommon from Shadows over Innistrad. It's for 2 and a red. It deals 2 damage to target creature or player. But more excitingly, in this deck, for 2 and a blue, you can copy an instant or sorcery spell when Geist Blast is in your graveyard.
Yeah, and you can choose new targets if you want. It's a very interesting, versatile card that I personally haven't gotten a lot of chance to play with Geist Blast. Have you ever played with it?
No, I can't say that I have.
I think it says a lot about us as players that I just want to see things die and burn, and you guys want to see just lots of spells be cast. You were like, LRR can do this and this and this, and I'm just like, can we get to 7 and burn the board? That's just what I light it all on fire. That's what I'm here for.
Those graph molds need to go.
They are a scourge. Have you ever dealt with a graph mole infestation? It's not pretty.
I can't believe that it is. It seems terrible for your yard.
Worse than ants.
Graph Mole once again bravely getting in there, though, and getting Loading Ready Run down to 16.
Double Graph Mole means that they will be getting 4 points of life for every clue sacrificed. Kenji's left up enough mana to sacrifice 2.
And we're seeing here, Geist Blast goes to the face for Kenji, though he has life to spare. And it looks like we're getting a 6th counter on Brain in a Jar, which is going to allow them to cast that rise from the tides. They will get a 2/2 zombie for each instant or sorcery in their graveyard.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8! 8 zombies! 8 zombies! All right, I'm winning right now.
We're also about to see them copy that spell with Geist Blast.
Okay, I'm losing.
So that's 16?
Yeah.
I believe the The first rise will see neither rise will see the Geist Blast.
Wow, I feel like I'm playing Dredge. Look at all those zombies.
Oh,
Yes.
that's awesome.
I'm home.
Rise from the Tide's usually a sorcery, but thanks to Brain in a Jar, they get to play it on Kenji's end step, and all of those zombies now untap. They are ready to get in there.
All right, I know what deck I'm bringing to GP Minneapolis. Brain in a Jar's Rise from the Tide.
I have zombie tokens if you need some.
Okay, I'm going to need a lot.
Being a Dredge player, I keep a lot of... Oh! We're getting visions. Visions.
And it looks like it's getting out a Rise from the Tides. So it's going to deal 6 to Kenji's board.
This is what I like to call getting bacon on your cheeseburger. You guys got your zombies. I'm burning everything. It's just, it's all good. It's all good.
We all got to see what we wanted to see.
Exactly. We can all go home now.
Kenji stacking some clues to draw a few cards. He's got a confirmed suspicions counterspell in his hand, but he's going to take an enormous chunk of damage, down to 8 from all of these zombie tokens.
I think you confirmed my suspicion that he was going to take a lot of damage.
A+. A+.
Thank you.
Yeah, there's not a lot Kenji can do here except draw some more cards and just keep drawing cards, I guess. Loading Ready Run takes the first match. Time for sideboarding. We'll see. We'll get another chance to see Kenji's ridiculous sideboard that includes one of all of the cards that the rest of the Community Super League is using. Over there on Loading Ready Run side, they've got a couple interesting cards. I think that something like Storm Chaser Mage, it's a 1/3, it's got haste and prowess, might actually be something that's pretty good against Kenji's deck because he has no way to interact in the air.
I would actually save that for more of a grindy matchup. I think they're in a really good place right now. If this was me, I would run it back with as few changes as possible because, they were able to kill everything. They were able to keep the board clear. And if anything, I would maybe just bring in some more removal. If they know that Tamiyo's journal is the target, maybe some negates. But I think they're in a really good place here and they really need to do very little.
On Kenji's side, we see that he's taking out some of the cards that only interact with a single creature. Press for Answers, for instance, something that's not particularly good against a swarm of zombies, since it only gets to tap down one creature. And instead, he's bringing in a couple of counter spells to hopefully keep those zombies from ever hitting the table in the first place.
Yeah.
I believe he's also brought in the 2 copies of Root Out that we mentioned to try and kill that Brain in a Jar before it can cause him too much trouble.
Yeah. All right, so here we go.
Game 2. It was interesting that Kenji was knocked down from like 38 life to 8 in one fell swoop. So he can gain as much life as he likes, but...
This isn't a bad hand.
No, Kenji, 2 copies of Tamiyo's journal. Ugh.
Unfortunately, that is a little bit of a mulligan for him right off the bat, since it is a legendary artifact, so he can only have 1 copy out at a time.
And he kept it.
Kenji keeps. Kenji keeps. Loading Ready Run, meanwhile, has got a couple of Rise from the Tides, which is what they want to see. They've got a counter spell in there, as well as Geist Blast and Fall of the Titans and Brain in a Jar, so their hand's looking pretty good. No ways to really kill anything too early, except Fall of the Titans.
Very importantly, Erdwall Illuminator now hitting the table. This little flyer for 1 and a blue, it's a 1/3, but more importantly, it says that
it's adorable.
It's adorable. Very importantly, it's being walked by its lantern. But it says whenever you investigate for the first time each turn, investigate an additional time. So that means that every time on upkeep when he's investigating with Tamiyo's journal, he's going to get 2 clues instead.
Yeah, and he drew a tireless tracker, so he's drawn quite well out of his nearly mulligan.
That could get out of hand.
Yeah. He's drawn probably the
exact
the 2 perfect cards.
And Geist Blast is going to take care of the tracker, I believe. Yeah.
Get in there, Erdwell Illuminator.
He's going to light the way to victory. Just not lantern.
Yeah.
One damage at a time. One damage at a time, little ghost.
I understand you guys recently had a run-in with a ghost, yeah? Your ghost host?
Yes.
That's true. Our podcast has recently been haunted by a ghost host.
Yep. Well, I wouldn't say haunted. I mean, it's a welcome edition, you know?
Kenji trying to cast his first copy of Tamiyo's journal. It's getting countered by Loading Ready Run.
Thankfully, he's got another one in hand. Kenji, thinking of everything.
And that's perhaps why he was interested in keeping a hand that had 2 Tamiyo's Journal, seeing as he did see 2 counter spells out of Loading Ready Run in that first game.
So Kenji's game plan now, get in with the Illuminator, play Tamiyo's Journal, fingers crossed that it doesn't get countered, start sitting back and making clues.
And I think that if Loading Ready Run isn't able to do a couple of more proactive things coming up here, they are going to start to be under some real pressure from Kenji's deck.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like their hand is not looking good right now.
No, I would agree that it does not look particularly strong at the moment.
They've got 3 Rise from the Tides, which was the all-star kind of last match, but it's not going to do much when we only have 2 instants or sorceries in the graveyard. 2 2/2s for 6, not a great deal.
They are about to be able to put one of those copies perhaps in the graveyard with this Tormenting Voice, which for 1 and a red will draw them 2 cards with the additional cost of discarding a card.
I'd probably pitch one of the Rise from the Tides. They certainly don't need 3 of them.
Yeah. Oh, there you go.
There you go.
It's a little too late to cancel that Tamiyo's Journal, but they'll take it.
But they could save the scatter for if Kenji decides to tutor for the Either Grid, they do have a response, and they can also deal with the Illuminator now.
Oh, and
that's and they only have 1 copy of the Either Grid, so if that gets canceled, Kenji's plan B is just creatures.
Yeah, little 1/1 humans.
Yeah. Well, that Tireless Tracker can get pretty terrifying, but it looks like he's gone for a Confirmed Suspicions here, which, as you mentioned, is probably pretty strong if he's worried about that 1 copy of Gear per Aether Grid getting countered to have a little bit of backup.
And chose not to scatter the tracker to the winds.
They also didn't leave any red mana. They used their red mana on Tormenting Voice, so they can't Fiery Impulse it or anything. So it's going to get big.
Wow.
3 counters on it already.
6/5.
And Kenji drew one of his root outs.
Hello.
R.I.P.
Scattered.
Oh, but this is going to be scattered. So it turns out that not countering that Tireless Tracker, a very heads-up play.
Yeah, it really was.
A really they were really using their brains.
C-.
I don't care. What was in my heart was what was in my heart.
Oh, they're gonna get rid of that fiery. You're gonna get rid of that Fiery Impulse, which is red, with Tormenting Voice, seeing as it doesn't kill anything currently on the battlefield.
Coastal Discovery, is that what that is?
Yeah, they must have brought that in out of the board.
Coastal Discovery, one of my personal favorite cards from Battle for Zendikar. For 3 and a blue, you can draw 2 cards, but you can also awaken it for 5 and a blue. It has Awaken 4, so you can make a land of 4/4 creature.
Yeah, it's basically that flying fish.
A Muldrifter?
Yeah.
Almost exactly.
Yeah.
Almost exactly.
Another copy of the Journal.
Don't play that journal, Kenji. It's legendary.
And interestingly, Kenji chooses not to attack with the Tireless Tracker here. Although it is quite big.
What's he scared of?
I don't know. He's the one with the ghost, so we know that he's it's not afraid of no ghost.
This is your brain. This is your brain in a jar. Any questions?
Loading Ready Run's hand looking a little bit better than it did early in the game, but still pretty reactive.
The issue that they have here is with so many clues on board and that Tireless Tracker already a 6/5, if they tap out and let Kenji know that he's free to attack, they could very easily be dead very quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially since Tireless Tracker doesn't care if you pay the 2 mana to sacrifice those clues, an activation of Tamiyo's Journal is going to be just as good as cracking each of them individually. That Tireless Tracker will still get those 3 counters from sacrificing those 3 clues.
LRR finds themselves a Negate and an Anticipate off the Coastal Discovery.
They chose not to tick up the brain in the jar.
Oh, they did. That's how they used the Coastal Discovery.
Okay.
So it's on 4 now.
So 2 away from Rise from the Tide shenanigans. Exquisite Firecraft. The Illuminator. The ghost going back to where it knows the world best, the graveyard.
If I were LRR, I would be kind of sad to make that trade. Like, that's basically the equivalent of, like, fixing a toaster with a sledgehammer. Like, just... you just blew 4 on a little thinger. Just...
Finger.
It does mean that they're not dead next turn, since the Tamiyo's journal will now only make 1 clue. And that Tireless Tracker can only get so big.
Oh, 2 root outs.
Oh.
Oh, and negate.
And let's see if Kenji is going to think that this negate is worth confirming suspicions.
Counter war.
Good old-fashioned counter war.
Over a root out. Bless their hearts. Of all the great counter wars in history, a root out.
I love learning about counter wars after I learned about World War I and II in school. Didn't you? My favorite unit.
Kenji, though, it looks like still declining to attack with that Tireless Tracker.
I don't know.
I wonder if he has a pact with himself to only gear up Aether Grid people out.
Yeah, he just
Kenji's very much a showman, though. Like, Kenji's very good at giving the people what they want to see. And if we came to watch a Girapur Aether Grid kill, he's going to give us that.
Yeah, that's what we're going to get.
That's what we came to see.
I wonder if LoadingReadyRun has figured that out, or if they just are as confused as we were a few minutes ago.
Although, very noticeably, LoadingReadyRun now has yet another counter spell in hand. So if Kenji thinks that maybe he's cleared out their hand of all of those counter spells, and he goes for that Aether Grid.
Ooh.
Yikes.
But
Kenji just found another counter.
Do you know what? He's really knows what's going on. He's got so many clues, and he gets another confirmed suspicion.
He is ready for them. How do you know when your opponent doesn't have any more counter spells?
I think when you're Kenji and you've got 5 clues out and even more that you've cracked, it's just common knowledge to you.
Interesting. I've often wondered, like, when do you take the plunge on playing your big card? You know, is this kind of a philosophical question that I'm asking here?
Well, I think it's when you find a card that you're really committed to and that you're sure that you're going
when
with
2 cards meet and really, really like each other.
Exactly. Sometimes they decide that it's time to take the plunge.
Yeah, but they make sure they sign a card prenup, obviously, because maybe a better card comes along.
And in some states, more than one card can be with each other. And where did this go?
This metaphor has just gone way off the rails.
Really, very deep.
I blame you guys.
We accept full responsibility
we certainly
for
do.
all terrible metaphors.
Okay, so 2 Rise from the Tides, Fall of the Titans, Scatter. So LRR's hanging on.
Yeah.
Can't count them out yet.
They certainly are, and they do also have a lot of burn that could go straight to the face in their hand right now between that Geist Blast, that Fall of the Titans, and the Geist Blast that could potentially copy something like Fall of the Titans.
Yeah, if they want to remove any storage counters from Mage Ring Network, it
looks like they have.
They're doing.
Oh. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I count 11.
Will Kenji allow this to resolve?
Oh, that'll be 22.
Whoa!
And either way that they're going to get, I believe, the copy. So they still get 1 Rise from the Tides.
Yeah.
I mean, 20 power worth of zombies is nothing to cry about.
Zombie count at 10, clue count at 8.
I call that a good day, you know.
What can I say? I'm an eternal optimist, you guys.
Megan's still sitting around at 32, which, I mean,
I believe.
It would have been pretty close if that other Rise from the Tides had resolved.
And Kenji does have lethal on board with his Tireless Tracker, but we're going to see if he still declines and if he's still going for the showmanship here.
Yep. I mean, LoadingReadyRun is tapped out.
There's nothing that they could do to prevent this Tireless Tracker from killing them.
No.
They are only at the mercy of Kenji.
But Kenji also could, you know, again, with them being tapped out, Kenji may think it's safe to go looking for the grid. He has some tokens for the grid, right?
He does.
Okay.
But Kenji's going to go ahead and second harvest, make a copy of all of his tokens already in play, which for him means...
Oh, we got to gear up for the grid.
Here it is.
We are on the grid.
Oh, that was amazing. So there's 18 clues, by the way. 18 clues, clue count. So tap 2 untapped artifacts you control. Gear per Aether Grid does some damage. Does some major damage.
For 2. So if he has 15, he can do 7?
Very importantly here, though, Loading Ready Run has a copy of Disperse in their hand, which for 1 and a blue doesn't say return target creature, but it's target non-land permanent. So they do have the ability to bounce that gear per Aether Grid and counter it on the way back down.
Interesting.
I guess my concern is that they would respond by just tapping the
Kenji can
artifacts.
just sacrifice in response. Oh, they're sending that away. Kenji doesn't care about that creature.
Well, he is now going to have to use his tapping his clues to deal damage to the zombies. As opposed to Loading Ready
Run.
Run.
Look at that. Loading Ready Run has...
imagining all these zombies running into like this laser web, like of just like Resident Evil stuff.
Like kind of like, what's that movie where there's a big where there's lasers and there's Sean Connery?
Entrapment.
Entrapment.
Catherine Zeta-Jones and that gratuitous butt shot. Just...
She needs to go under the lasers.
Yeah.
That's what those zombies are doing right now. It's really great.
They are evading all of the lasers.
It's a fun story. Megan and I actually went as adults to a children's, like, what do you call it? Like Chuck E. It wasn't Chuck E. Cheese. It was not. We were not quite there, but it was like some birthday party land or whatever. And there was a game where you could play lasers, and you went in and you had to crawl under them and not break the lasers.
Oh, it was when we were at laser tag.
Yeah, it was in a laser tag place. It was great. I was really quite bad at it. Props to Catherine Zeta.
Hello.
So, Kenji, with 16 clues in play, Gear per Aether Grid requires you to tap 2. So they can currently do, or he can currently do 8 damage directly to Loading Ready Run. But he also needs to not leave himself dead to this horde of zombies.
Yeah.
Do you think that Kenji it might have been incorrect for him to, like, do we think that he had the kill and he missed the window in favor of showmanship, or?
I think that is absolutely the case. True. But can we fault him for it?
No,
I don't think that we can.
No.
We certainly, I would go so far as to say we certainly cannot fault Kenji for that. It does look, though, like he might be...
A second harvest again. The harvest has been good this year.
28 tokens, is that?
Oh my goodness.
It's almost happening, Megan.
Is he going to kill them in response?
It looks like he is. I missed that copy of Second Harvest.
This is sweet. I'm glad Kenji waited.
I'm having flashbacks to last week and all of Wedge's Nightmare Dragon triggers. Just like, no.
Yeah, that was pretty brutal.
Shaking in my chair.
If anybody wants to check out any of the matches from previous weeks here on the Community Super League, you can check it out on YouTube on Magic the Gathering's channel.
And ours was short enough that you can catch it while you're brushing your teeth or putting your contacts in, or, just checking the mail,
Kenji
got it
too. Amazing.
He evens up the match with all of those clues, dealing some damage via Gira per Aether Grid.
Okay, ladies. So if you were going to write an entry in your diary, because this post is called Dear Diary, how would you describe what just happened? Like, Dear Diary,
I think I'm in love. Not with a person, but with a deck.
He's writing us a message.
Yes, Kenji. Oh, it's so good. It was all worth it, Kenji. It was all worth it.
I think that mine would say Kenji proved today that you can have your cake and eat it too.
Yeah.
That you can have a lethal tireless tracker and just not care.
Wait for better things, Megan. Wait for better things. Sometimes you don't always want to take the first kill.
No. I don't want to settle by attacking someone to death with a tireless tracker.
Yet again, we are locked in a marriage metaphor. Interesting. All right, round 3. Here we go. This is the deciding match.
All right. Come on. Oh.
Kenji with a little bit of a rough hand. He has a graph maul and a tireless tracker. Both which interact very favorably with clues, Tireless Tracker making them, and Graph Mold gaining him life, but no green mana.
Yeah.
LRR is missing blue mana, and they're on the play.
And more than 1 mana. They are also missing that.
I would probably ship this.
Yeah.
And it looks like they... we see that Kenji did also have a second harvest, although that is still a green card.
So Kenji mulligans.
As does Loading Ready Run.
I would be kind of tempted to keep this.
Yeah.
I should probably be able to find a land in 3 turns, then I can counter, and I'm not happy to do it, but I would do it.
Yeah, Kenji's hand is not really super doing much of anything, but it's kind of working towards his goal there with the Weirding Wood and Tamiyo's Journal in hand. Loading Ready Run didn't draw their land, so. Rough.
They do have a Disperse in hand, so they will have a little bit of early action.
Kenji, no creatures, but... Oh, wait, I spoke too
Tireless
soon.
Tracker to save the day.
And it looks like he's going to go ahead and get that Weirding Wood out there so that next turn, whether or not he draws a land, he will have access to at least 4 and potentially 5 if he draws a land mana.
And again, playing the Tireless Tracker is smart, too. You know, again, not slamming it down on turn 3, waiting until he has a 4th land. That's really smart.
Yeah.
And he draws that land, which gets him up to 5 mana, and he's going to put that Tamiyo's Journal into play while he has a window, knowing that Loading Ready Run was tapped out.
You know, the more I look at Kenji's deck, the more I realize how important sequencing is here, where it's like, you know, he wants to, you want to make sure that you're layering those investigate effects and those doubling effects so that you're really getting the most value out of them. And I didn't realize that when I first looked at the list. And so kudos to him for that, because it seems like I can see how someone would make some mistakes there. Layer
yeah,
things in
it seems like a complicated deck to play, actually.
Yeah.
And when he was testing this on his stream the other day, people were noting that it is a very interesting, and there's a lot going on. Loading Ready Run going to take this opportunity to send that Tamiyo's Journal back to Kenji's hand.
So hopefully they can counter it. No such luck.
They've missed, what, 4 lands?
Something like that, yeah.
Oof.
Pretty unlucky.
And Kenji is just gaining so much of an advantage here.
Yeah.
I mean, Kenji's no Paul, but he's still pretty lucky in this match.
Oh, all the triggers.
And he's going to go search up something with Tamiyo's Journal. He's going to get 3 counters on his Tireless Tracker and 3 1/1 human soldiers from his Ulvenwald Mysteries, a card which we have not yet seen in play on Kenji's side of the battlefield.
Whenever
I was
watching
Unsolved Mysteries before this, and so when I see Ulvenwald Mysteries, I hear Robert Stack in my head saying, "You may be able to help solve a mystery," and I'm like, "Ooh, solve mysteries, Kenji."
If you were really watching that, cheers.
I was. There's a channel on YouTube that has like just dozens of episodes, and just oh my god.
Oh, that sounds awesome.
Oh yeah, just don't watch it in the dark because it's still creepy.
No, I've been thinking of having a Murder, She Wrote marathon party, so you're invited.
Oh my god! I just recently, it took me 10 seasons to finally guess the murderer correctly. That shit was no joke. I was so proud of myself too.
I mean, she's good at what she does. So do you think Kenji has cleared a way for himself emotionally to be able to attack with these humans that he's making and not the Tireless Tracker? He's probably okay with that since it's a separate win con, right?
I'm not entirely sure. I don't know how dedicated Kenji is.
Root out on the brain. Oh,
Goodbye.
scatter.
Loading Ready Run says that Brain in a Jar is well worth protecting, especially since they're not doing a whole lot else with their mana right now.
Here's the moment of truth. And there they come.
Those soldier tokens can, in fact, come in.
Still suck on mana over on Loading Ready Run's side.
And very notably, casting that Scatter to the Wind did not allow them to put another counter on Brain in the Jar. So while they would have had something like Geist Blast potentially available to them if they had been able to get it up to 2 and then next turn to 3, they're not able to. But they do have that negate in hand and Brain in the Jar on 1, so they could potentially negate something with that Brain in the Jar next turn.
I'll tell you what
Brain in the
good.
Jar.
Fall of the Titans would be pretty good if Kenji is able to get up an insane number of humans.
That's true, or that Volcanic Visions, but I'm a little bit worried that Loading Ready Run might be dead before we see that happen.
Yeah.
As we are
they're
getting
really behind here.
3 more counters on that Tireless Tracker and 3 more humans from that Ulvenwald Mysteries. if Kenji doesn't know what's going on in this set at the end of this game, there's no hope for any of us.
Aaron, do you have any theories as to what's causing the insanity on Innistrad?
You know, I was hoping it wasn't Emrakul. Like, I was hoping it was maybe Merit Lage. I was one of those people. I was hoping maybe it was Liliana up to no good. Like, I was really just not... Emrakul just seemed kind of, dare I say, lazy. Yeah, no tea, no shade, but it just seemed a little lazy. And now I'm just, the more warnings, the more signs I'm seeing and the more evidence and things like that, I think it just might be Emrakul. But the theory around it is interesting, how, like, Emrakul was, like, nearby, and just by being in the vicinity, that caused all the mutations, all the insanity, just from being, you know, kind of on the fringe. But now that the portal is down, or the gate is open with Avacyn croaking, you know, now that she can come through, and it can just all hell can break loose. And so I think it is going to end up being Emrakul.
Yeah, it's a pretty neat story regardless.
I have to say, what sold me on it really was the nice Nahiri revenge plotline. Like, maybe Emrakul, if it happens, is expected, but if it's Nahiri, you know, trying to draw Emrakul towards the plane because she's so mad.
And can we be honest for a minute? We've all been Nahiri. Let's just get that out.
We've all been Nahiri.
We've all been Nahiri.
We've all wondered why the person that we thought was such a good friend of ours didn't come to the aid of our plane.
It's basically Say My Name, but with planeswalkers. I mean, that's what it is.
I've definitely blown up a few buildings, and
I mean,
you know.
Mm-hmm. I was
to say her name. Just, if no one's around you, say Nahiri, I love you. Just.
I feel a music video coming on. Kenji getting in with his 1/1 human soldiers.
And he's attacking for 6 here, putting Loading Ready Run down to 5.
That's not good.
And it's very much down to the wire for them. It is answer or bust. And with that confirmed suspicions, a counterspell in Kenji's hand, things are not looking good for them.
Yeah, I think their only saving grace would have been to make some zombies, but they don't have that ability right now.
Yeah.
And if Kenji allows it, they are going to pour over the pages right now. So they'll get a look at 3 cards, get to untap 2 of their lands and discard a card. But it looks like Kenji says, I'm sorry.
Not today.
But there's something worrisome in those pages, so I'm going to go ahead and not let you read them. The journal is mine, please.
Yeah,
stay out of
if
it.
your parents wanted to look at your diary, no.
Probably say no.
I'm going to cast a counterspell on that all day.
Kenji is going to second harvest to copy both soldier tokens and his clues.
Oof.
Amazing!
Wow. We should have done a raffle for how many soldiers Kenji was going to make. We covered zombies and clues.
Yes,
we didn't even think of soldiers.
So that's 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Yes, Kenji.
Well, it's been swell.
And there's another Ulvenwald Mysteries coming down. Just for the beats.
Still had all these.
Just for the rubbins. Over on Kenji's side of the table. And here comes a Girapur Aether Grid. So he can get those last 5 points in.
Oh.
He doesn't even need to attack.
He's attacking with 4 soldiers here.
Oh.
So that he can deal the last point of damage.
That's
with
petty,
Girapur
and I
Aether
love
Grid.
it.
Well done to Kenji, taking the match 2-1 over Loading Ready Run. So, what's better, brains or a diary? Turns out it's a diary.
Dear diary.
Yeah, that was a pretty awesome matchup. Two amazing decks and 3 great games of Magic. And we've got some more coming up because we're gonna play in the next round, Aaron.
All bets are off.
Whew, the gloves are off. It's Stop All Hammer at Time versus a box of frogs. I've never said anything stranger in my life.
Haven't you, though?
Yep, that's true. Good point.
If anyone else said it, I would believe them. But when
I've been on your show, so I can attest to the strange things that have come out of our mouths.
So true. So true.
Someday, if Maria and I ever get to maybe 300 episodes, we should have like a TV style flashback show where it's just us being like, remember that time And then like we we go back in time and see it again.
It is strange though, because you listen to your old episodes sometimes randomly. We did this today, and I did not remember anything that I said in that episode, and it was several very strange things. Like I talked about a dog driving a car with a milkshake. Like what was I talking about?
Yeah, I've been there. I've certainly been there. Like we could do a whole show just on things we've said in podcasts that we shouldn't have. But
Megan talked about her dreams of becoming a professional jockey.
I did think I was going to be a professional jockey at one point in my life, but then my dad's side of the family, those genes kicked in, and I was up above 5 foot. So,
Megan, maybe when you get old, just shrink back down.
So maybe I'll hope I can be an 80-year-old racehorse jockey.
Reach for the stars, Megan. Reach for the stars.
So it sounds like we're ready to go ahead and go to ads, and after that, you're going to get to see us with Alhamrad's Archive versus the girlfriend bracket. Who will rule the airwaves? Who knows?
Because there can only be one.
There can only be one.
Whether riding the bus or waiting for the Pro Tour finals to begin, Magic Duels is a great way to hone your skills and try new strategies. Featuring hundreds of earnable cards from Magic's latest sets and virtually unlimited AI and online opponents, start playing Magic Duels free today on iPhone, iPad, Xbox One, and Steam.